Hey, this is Hugh from the Open Pinball Project. This is basically a video for Joe to tell him how to set up the Van Halen machine when he gets it, and just a little walkthrough of some of the Van Halen, how things are connected together and stuff. It's probably not going to be that exciting for anybody except for Joe. I might end up showing a good amount of stuff of how the power supplies are attached and such, but really this is a one-off homebrew machine, so it's probably not that applicable to other people. Maybe to somebody else using OPP boards, who knows. Okay, so here we are. The machine is currently all set up here, and let's go through some of the connections between the back box and such. So the first one is there's the boom box topper right there, and that's where the music sound comes out of it. So the boombox topper, basically it's standard cables, standard speaker wire cables that come out. They're marked left speaker and right speaker. It's pretty important to get those right because during the very beginning when you do the mode, there's that I can't even remember what the name of the sound is, where it goes from the right speaker to the left speaker. It goes zzz. If you get the speakers wrong, it'll go from left to right, so it doesn't really make sense with the shoot ball coming out of the shooter lane. So just two speaker wires that come in here and that get attached. So now let's go to opening up the back box. Is the same as any other Bally machine of the era. I'm going to have to put the camera down, sorry. You remove the back glass as normal. And move the back glass over here. And here we have what the back box looks like without the back glass. Evidently I didn't have that hooked up. Oh. Yeah. Okay. So let's see here. So now we're going to oops. Okay. Sorry. This screw, of course, lets you get at the whole back box. The light board goes right there. There we go. Open that up so you have a little bit easier access. Okay, here we go. Here's the inside, the brains of the machine. So here you have on the left hand, let's do a quick out picture. On the left hand side here, you have the Raspberry Pi board. On the right hand side, you have the amplifier. This is the little filter that needs to be in place so that you don't get a whine on the speaker. So that's very important to do. So these guys are currently not hooked up because it's still set up at the last test. Okay, and here's the mess of OPP boards and the interface. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 OPP boards sitting there, and then you have the Bally interface board right there in the center. What the Bally interface board does is it changes it takes the standard Bally wiring harness for the Dolly Parton machine and it converts it to the correct pinout for the interface boards. So the reason that it was done that way is that none of the wiring in the machine itself is actually changed. So just this interface board was added basically. Okay, so there you see the huge monitor. To work on stuff, it's best to take the monitor out. Behind the monitor, there is a button that you can press, and that lets you take the monitor out. So let's see if we can, I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this. You reach behind it on the left or right side, whichever is more convenient, and it's at the bottom of, the button is actually at the bottom where the mount point is. You can hear it click there, and then it just lifts up slightly and comes right out. So, let's see here. Right there is the button that I was pressing to remove it from this mount point right here. Okay, from this mount point right there. So now you have a lot easier access into it. Okay, so things that matter and things that don't matter. Here you have your standard connectors going to your power supply. These are the standard, it uses the same, this is the transformer that was always used for the high power current. And this is all the wiring right here. A lot of the wires, the unused wires that used to go to the displays and stuff have been removed because we don't have the displays anymore and we use the LCD. Also, if you'll notice, the thing marked as F2, fuse 2, that's the high voltage fuse. That has been removed because we don't use high voltage anymore, and it's just safer to have that out. So don't be disturbed that there's no high voltage thing. Okay, so you have two wiring bundles coming up. One comes from your cabinet, which is this guy. It's actually got this little tag on, which I never noticed before. That goes to your cabinet. And the second one comes from your playfield, which has, it's much thicker. There's the one that comes from the playfield, from the bottom. If you'll notice, there's these Velcro straps here that basically provide a little bit of mechanical, well, they do provide the mechanical support for it. Marked here, playfield, cabinet. Oh, look at that, I marked them, how clever of me. So basically I bring the wires up here and then I wrap the Velcro strips around it to support it so that there's no actual weight being pulled on these connectors here. Now these connectors here, which come from the playfield and stuff, they are all keyed so they can't be placed in the wrong spots. So the playfield connector has the playfield bundle has 1, 2, 3, and 4. So when I laid out the board, all of the playfield connectors are on the left side of the interface board, and all the power supply and cabinet connectors are on the right side of the board to keep them as separated as possible and make it a little bit easier to plug things into. Actually, the playfield the cabinet really only has 1, 2 connectors that goes into that thing. Then there's also a couple connectors here that go, so the cabinet right here, cabinet has a connector that goes into the transformer board, and then where does that go? Oh, that goes from, this is the cable that goes directly from the transformer board right here all the way to the very rightmost connector on here on the Bally interface board, and that actually connects the grounds together. And then the last connector right here goes to the playfield itself. So this provides the voltage so that well, pretty much everything works. Those are all the solenoid voltages and stuff run through that connector. Okay, that is everything there that I see. Let's talk about this guy. So added in a PC power supply that gives me 5 volts, 12 volts, and powers everything up. So we got the power supply there. So here you have a couple connections going into the Raspberry Pi, which the connections going into the Raspberry Pi include this one here, which this is right there. So it goes from the, excuse me for a second, get off kitty. So this goes from the first C1, it's marked C1 here, and you'll actually see it's soldered connector, and it goes down through, has some strain relief there to make sure that the connector can't do it, travels all the way down here and is plugged in to the Raspberry Pi. And the second connector goes into your USB sound card. The USB sound card is needed because the sound on the Raspberry Pi is absolutely atrocious, so a little USB sound connector here. May have noticed that we have these two wires here. That's because I was doing a test. These two wires, they're yellow, which is 12 volts, black, which is ground in a PC power supply. Those actually should be attached to right there, and they will be when you get the thing. It's just I haven't actually done that. This was me testing the sound to make sure that the sound was working properly. The last connection that I need to tell you about is this guy here. This guy here, let me put the camera down for a second, is the, there we go. This guy provides the 12 volts for the backbox lighting. Here, let me plug it in. There we go. This guy provides the 12 volts so that the lights turn on and off for the backbox lighting. So that just comes off its own little separate connector right there and goes to the PC power supply. Fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about the power cord. So the power cord comes up from down deep within. Comes up from deep within the machine here. There's your power cord. So you can see there's actually a Y connection into your power cord. The Y connection, one goes into your PC power supply here, and the second connector goes into your monitor right here. So that's all there. What else? That power cord, let's see. Let me put the monitor back up so we have a little bit more space to see, and I can pop open the glass. So, to pop the monitor in, you put it up on the top, and it kind of hangs down. Oop. If I knew where the center was. There we go. So now that's locked in. So now let's open up the bottom. Standard, blah blah blah, coin door, whatever. I'm gonna have to pop the glass, so I gotta put the camera down again. I'll put it in this one. Stop. Put it here. Let's see. Okay, let's pop this off. Okay, where'd I put the camera? There it is. Okay, standard playfield. Yeah, you've seen playfields, you know what they look like. Okay. There we go. Okay, so the power cord that we just had seen. Power cord comes from the top here, from the back box, and it comes all the way down here, and lo and behold, it is plugged into the, it is actually plugged into the service power right there. So that's great. So that means that if you plug this machine in, it will start booting. That's good in one way and bad in another way. Well, it's good when you plug it in and it starts up. It's bad because it is not connected into the on-off switch, the normal on-off switch of the pinball machine. The one thing that is connected into the on-off switch of the pinball machine is the high voltage. So you can actually start the machine up without starting the high voltage. Don't go in there. Okay, so let's put this down and start the machine up and plug it in quick. Okay. Let's see. There we go. There's the cord right there. See if this scares the... Okay. Did I have the power supply off? No, I had the power supply off. Okay. So here you see it booting up. So the boot time is, I think it's a minute, 2 minutes, something like that. So I'm booting this up, and I haven't really, I haven't turned on the high power yet. And this is kind of like how I like to turn it on. The problem is if you turn the high power on immediately, the issue is that the ball will be served. And then you have to, before the game, you have to fire it. That's fine too. So we're still waiting for it to boot. It stays on this blue screen a long time before it can boot up the Python and the Java and all the other stuff that go into actually running the pinball thing. And you'll know that it actually starts running. It's set to auto run, and it'll give you the "Hello Baby" stuff from from Van Halen. Booting, booting, booting. It's a really long boot. There we go. Oh, I don't have the thing plugged in. I should just plug that in. Okay. Sorry, I didn't plug in the speakers. So let's do that. If I would have plugged in the speakers, you would have heard it say, "Hello, baby." Wow. Okay. Volts. Okay. So now we are up and running. If I start it without turning on the high power voltage, it detects that it can't run the ball multiple times. So I'm going to turn on the high power right now. So there you go, you can see the high power turned on. Okay, I'm going to hit the start button to start the game. And why am I not hearing the music? Why am I not hearing sound? Well. Okay, I don't know why I don't have sound at this moment. I probably disconnected something. That doesn't make sense. So I'm going to have to end the video, it's long anyway, and find out what that is. But that's pretty much the end of it. Like I said, if you want to just turn off the voltage, the high voltage in the machine, you just turn off the normal pinball button here. That's it. Bye-bye.